Hi everyone, I hope you all are doing great. Today I am going to show you one interesting project which is made using Docker Compose. You might have one question in your mind. In world of Kubernetes, why we are going to use Docker Compose? So, first thing is, whenever as a developer, you will be writing your development codes, you have to test it. And for testing those codes, you cannot directly go to the Kubernetes cluster and deploy them. You have to do it locally. Now, for doing those deployments locally, now you cannot set up a complete Kubernetes cluster in your local system and you can do this. So people still use Docker Compose. So using Docker Compose, you can maintain multiple layer of your applications. What I mean by multiple layers. Suppose you have deployed a application and that application is based out of Java. So all the development code is written in your system. Now this code need one NoSQL database as a dependency. So one database is needed, and suppose this Java code also need to interact to another applications. So app2, which is again written in Java or some another language, it has to interact. Now in local system, how you will get NoSQL database? In MySQL, you have to deploy another applications also. So if you have multiple layers of your applications, like your application has multiple dependencies, in those cases, you can use Docker Compose and define all the components in your Docker Compose file, and then you can run the compose and you can deploy your applications and test all the dependencies or all the components using a single deployment file. So now coming to the concepts. So Docker Compose is a tool used for defining and running multi-container Docker applications. What I mean by multi-containers, like one container will be for the database, one container is your one API is running, another container your another APIs are running. So that means multi-container applications. So with Docker Compose, you can define a multi-container environment in a single YAML file, maybe typically docker compose.yml or any other name, and then spin up all the services and dependency with a single command. It simplifies the process of managing complex applications that require multiple containers such as databases, caches, message blockers and web servers by automating the setup and configurations. So key concepts will be services. So each container or group of container in a compose setup is defined as a service. A service could be a web server, a database, a cache, etc. Docker Compose allow you to define all of them in one file. Network, because you have to interact to multiple components. So suppose if this is in network N1 and this is in N2 and this is in N3, it will be difficult to establish the communication among all of them. So what you have to do, you can deploy a network, a common network. So Docker Compose automatically creates a network for services to communicate with each other. If necessary, you can define your own custom networks. Volumes. Docker Compose let you define volumes for persistent data storage. This ensures that data is written across container restarts. So suppose when I deploy my application, I created a application, web application where you are taking a lot of entries of the users and storing it into a database. Now this database, once it's restarted and if it is not having persistent storage, all the data will be gone. So what exactly you have to do? You have to use volumes. What is volumes? Volumes will allow you to store your data with persistent. Means that volume can be your local file storage where the data will be stored. So even your containers are deleted, still when you are bringing it up again, the same volume will be used and it can persist your data. So in our this project, we are going to deploy MongoDB application, MongoDB database and Mongo Express on Docker containers. So what is MongoDB? MongoDB is a NoSQL database and Mongo Express is a web applications to talk to MongoDB. So one will be having Mongo Express will have a web interface, and MongoDB, is a database where data will be stored. So we can use Docker Compose to define and run multi-container Docker applications. MongoDB is a NoSQL database. MongoDB stores data in document-oriented format like JSON objects. Express is a web interface for MongoDB. It provides a user-friendly graphical interface to interact with MongoDB database. It allows developer and administrator to perform administrative tasks without needing to use MongoDB shell or writing complex queries. So what high level steps which we are going to follow? First, we'll be creating the Docker Compose file. Once Docker Compose file is created, we have to start, and how it can be started. Docker Compose up and -d is in the detached mode. That means your Compose will be running the applications in the back end. So front end will be fully clean. You will not see any messages in the front end. And then after it's deployed, it will deploy both MongoDB and Mongo Express. And then you can use this web UI, localhost 8080 Mongo Express, and it will have the user ID is admin and password is PASS. So this can be used. And if you want to stop it, then Docker Compose drop. So let us begin. Now understand our Docker Compose configurations. So I have this docker-compose.yml. It's not necessary that you use the same name. You can use any name. And when you are doing Docker Compose up, you can use that particular name with -f option. So we are using Docker Compose version, which is 3.8. Services. What kind of services we want to use? Services will have first service of Mongo. So Mongo is like we are specifying the Mongo image. Container name is Mongo, and the port it will be running is 27017. So it maps 2707 of container port to 2707 on the host. So MongoDB can be accessed externally. Environment is like MongoDB initial passwords we are setting as admin, and Mongo initial password root is a password, and then volume. So Mongo data will be mounting the data /db. So mount a volume name Mongo data to persist Mongo data across container restarts, and network is Mongo network. So this is one service. Another service is Mongo Express. So this is second service which has the image Mongo Express. Container name, port is 8081. It will be running. Environment is the Mongo server. Config Mongo server is Mongo. MongoDB admin username is admin. Admin password is the password which we have defined above. And then Mongo config port is 27017. Depends on, so this means that service in question is the web application, and Mongo Express depends on Mongo service. So this depends on the MongoDB service, and then network is same Mongo network here, and here also you see Mongo network. And then volume, you are again mounting the Mongo data volume, and then network is both are using MongoNet, and the driver is the Breeze driver. So both containers are connected to same custom Breeze network, MongoNet, to ensure that they can communicate with each other by their container names, Mongo for MongoDB and Mongo Express for web interface. So I hope you understood on a high level what this Docker Compose file contains. So it contains two type of services. One is for Mongo and one is for Mongo Express. In the Mongo service, you are defining the image, container name, port, environment, volume, and network. And then in Mongo Express, same thing you are defining. And then dependency you are defining, which it depends on the Mongo. Network you are defining, that is same for both Mongo and Mongo Express, that is MongoNet, and volume is Mongo data, and network is common, that is driver is used is Breeze, and network is MongoNet. So now you want to start your applications. So let us see how we can do that. So now what I want to do, I want to use Docker Compose up command. So Docker Compose, what will be the command? Docker -compose -f is Docker Compose.yml up. And if I start it now, lot of logs you will see in the screen. So if I don't want to see the logs on the screen, I can use -d option. But in the first start, let us do and see the logs. So now here if you see, it is telling container Mongo created, container Mongo Express created, attaching to Mongo and Mongo Express, and then you get lot of messages printed here and network other details. And then here you will see Mongo Express is listening on 000 colon 8081, and then server is open to allow anyone can connect on 0.0.0, and basic credentials are admin and password. It is recommended you change it if needed. So now once it is done, you can uh, go to this link localhost 8081, because Mongo Express is exposing the port 8081 and its username is admin and password is PASS. So click on this link, and once I click on the link, I got the Mongo Express UI available to us. So now you see that how exactly this is working. Let me open this in different tab. So here just copy it and go to a different tab and then open this. So here you see Mongo Express is there, and you see some databases by default is admin, config and local, all the host names, MongoDB version and other. Suppose I want to create a database. So I want to create database name DEVOPS-TECHSTACK and click on create database. So here you see DEVOPS-TECHSTACK got created. You can click on this database and you can create a collection. Collection name suppose test. So create collection. So now you can have its key, like key is test and value is ABC, and it's a string. This way you can do it. You have multiple options here. You can create index, other informations, new index, new document. If you want to store, you can put the ID and other details. So you can interact to MongoDB through UI. As of now, let us go back to Mongo Express, and you have a database DevOps Tech Stack. Now suppose my container got some problem and all got stopped. So now if you again try to open the link, you see it's refreshing, but it will never open. So site is not reachable. So if your Docker Compose is not having persistent volume, in that case, what will happen? In that case, if you start Docker, this time let us start it in the detach mode so that all the logs will not be printed on the screen. So now it's again created. If you refresh this again, you see it's available, but you see DevOps Tech Stack is available. That means even you your pods, your containers are restarted or containers are deleted. That doesn't affect your data. Your data is still persisted into your system volume. So I am using Docker Desktop. So how it is mounted, let us see here. So here you will see, you will go click on the volumes and you will see there is a volume called Mongo-data. And if you click on this Mongo data, which has the target data slash db and data slash config db. So here your volume is persisted or your data is stored in this volume. So on a high level, you understood how exactly you can use Docker Compose, and you can define multiple services, their network and other dependencies you can define, and you can use Docker Compose. So if you have to stop it, one option is now because it's running. So now you can use Docker Compose down, and this command can help you to stop it. So Docker Compose down, and now you see it has removed all the networks, both the containers. If you go and refresh the page again, so this will not open because Docker Compose has stopped our applications. So I hope you understood the concept of Docker Compose, and this is going to be too much useful in your projects when you are doing all the development works and deployments in your local system. So thank you so much guys for giving your valuable time. We'll be again coming with some more interesting projects in coming videos. Thank you so much.